Find the least common multiple, or LCM, using prime factorization. In this case, this has a four-step process. The first step is we factor the values into prime factorizations. In other words, use your factor trees. Step 2, we place the factors into an organized chart. 3, we state what each individual column represents. And then finally, the fourth step, we multiply the column values to find the least common multiple. So in this example, it states, identify the least common multiple of 12 and 15 using prime factorization. Well, the first step says to factor. So go ahead now, pause the video, and factor the values of 12 and 15. Hopefully for 12, you factored it into the values of 3, 2, and 2. And then for 15, I hope you found the factors of 3 and 5. Again, don't worry about the order of the values. It just needs to have the right factors. Now we're ready for step 2, to put the factors into an organized chart. Well, this chart is simply made up of rows and columns. The first row will represent 12 and its factors. The second row will represent 15 and its factors. And the third row is going to be the LCM, or the least common multiple. Now we're going to put several columns, and these columns are basically sorting our factors. So looking at our first row for 12, we said our factors were 2, 2, and 3. Which means 2 is placed in a column, the second 2 is in a separate column, and the 3 is in a third column. We are simply separating and organizing our factors. Now we're ready to look at our other value of 15. We said 15 was made up of the two factors of 3 and 5. Well, in our chart already, do we already have a column for 3's? We do, so we place the 3 under the other 3. We're organizing them. Now our other factor of 5, we need to have a column for 5. However, currently we do not have a column for 5. So we currently have a column for 2, 2, and 3. So in this case, we make another column just for that 5. Now, that's what it means to organize your factors in a chart. We've simply sorted them. Now we're ready for step 3, which is to state what each column represents. The first column represents 2's. The second column represents 2's. The third column represents 3's. The last column represents 5's. Now, that's all we had to do for step 3 was to state what each column represented. We're ready for the fourth final step, which is to multiply these column values. In other words, what is 2 times 2 times 3 times 5? Well, that is 60, which means the least common multiple of 12 and 15 is 60. Find the LCM of the given values of 18 and 27. We are going to practice using the chart and the prime factorization. Now the first step is to factor using factor trees, so please pause the video now so you can do your factor trees. All right, for 18, I hope you arrived at the factors of 2, 3, and 3. And for 27, I hope you arrived at the values of 3, 3, and 3. Now that we've done the factor trees, we're ready for step 2, which is to put the information into the organized chart. The first row will represent 18 and its factors. The second row will represent 27 and its factors. And the third row represents the factors involved in the LCM. Now that we have the rows and columns ready, let's list the factors for 18. The factors we found were 2, 3, and 3. So the first column represents 2, the second column is a 3, and the third column is a 3. Now we're ready to turn our attention to the factors of 27. 27 is made up of 3, 3, and 3. Well, notice the second column already is values of 3s, so we place a 3 in the second column. And there is a second column for 3s, so we place it there. Now we have a third 3, but we don't already have a column set up, which means we create a new column just for that last 3. Now that all the factors are sorted and organized, we're ready for step 3, which is to state what each column represents. The first column represents a 2. The next column represents 3. The next column, 3. And the final column, a 3. Which brings us to the fourth step, which is to multiply these factors. What is 2 times 3 times 3 times 3? Hopefully you found the value of 54. So we can confidently say the LCM, or the least common multiple, is 54.